My name's Dean Huston and this is my pride and joy, little orange 911E 1970. It's a Sportmatic version, so it has the semi-automatic gearbox, fuel injection, and it wasn't in that state when I bought it. When I bought it, it had been sitting in a shed for 20 odd years and a little bit unloved, a lot of work needed, a little bit of rust, which is where Precision come into it.
Precision Autowerk don't really do a lot of restoration work. The reason being is you can't actually predict the hours you're going to spend on the vehicle. The reason why we did do it is, hey, Brett, my business partner and myself, we love Porsche. Dean, Huston's a good friend of ours, and we thought, hey, a good project to do. He was just saying to me he just wanted to do a touch up on it and didn't really want to go over the top. It wasn't ever going to be going for Concours. So I thought, oh yeah, here we go.
I'm the sort of person that, you know, those little things really niggle at me, and I personally couldn't, in the end, just do a quick tidy up and know that the interior's still knackered or the running gear's all knackered. I needed to go the whole hog in the end, and to be honest, I wasn't looking for anything like this. I didn't want to undertake it. I've seen a lot of other people do it before, and I'll never do that myself. So I didn't realise it would take so long or cost so much, but it was all worth it at the end of the day. It had been through a few owners, but hadn't been on the road. It hadn't been registered since 1990, so people had owned it, but actually hadn't driven it. So it was quite good in that respect. Some parts of it, you know, the interior, etc., was pretty good considering its age, because it hadn't been out in the sunlight. Other parts, the bodywork, because it had been sat there slowly rotting away, was the downside.
We decided to, okay, Dean, you do the strip on the vehicle and you can do the refit on it as well.
I purchased the car in 2010. We stripped it down over that year, 2010, 2011.
I could kind of see then that, and so could he, that we were finding little bits and pieces that we had to address in regards to rust, so we kind of knew that it was a little more than just a touch-up. The first thing we did when the car arrived is we actually got it onto rotisserie and we sent it down to the media blaster. Once we'd media blasted it back to the bare steel, we could see what we're actually dealing with. Then we started cutting pieces off, so yeah, Dean got quite a few phone calls. We started with the A-pillars, you know, I cut the A-pillars off and, oh, Dean, you better come over and have a look, you know. So the whole idea really was to keep Dean, you know, in touch with the whole project from start to finish. He could make the decisions all the way through. The vehicle in total, we're probably well over 600 hours.
I probably did the same amount just on all the other stuff and putting it back together. You know, little things, like I vividly remember pulling apart the gear lever mechanism on the bench and spent the weekend reconditioning that and cleaning everything up and putting it all back together and putting it in the car. You know, the time can just go like that when you're trying to get it to that standard. I talked to Paul and said, you know, I think I'm going to go for a concourse, and he was kind of all for it as well. So at that point, I had to reevaluate everything I'd done up to then. The shell itself that these guys had prepared and given to me was perfect, so it was just a matter of me carrying that theme on, which I did all the way through to 2016. To get it to the point of going into a concourse event like that, you really have to look at every nut and bolt, every piece you're putting on the car. Like there was parts of that car that I took off and put to one side and thought, they're really in good condition, I'll put them back on. But when I came to put them back on, they weren't in any way good enough to go back on the car, but to buy new ones. So it was either buy new parts or recondition, like suspension parts completely stripped down and powder coat so they look like new. So every piece that goes on the car has to look like new. We're very lucky within the Porsche Club that we have very supportive members that focus on this, a good team of members that focus on Concours. So the car almost got taken out of my hands for a week previous Concours and just stepped up a whole level again. It's very exciting to see the car the day before the Concours event. 3 days of polishing on the paintwork to get it like it is there, and all the other bits and pieces that the guys have done to just finish off and just make it that a whole lot better again. Little rags, little toothbrushes, every little nook and cranny on that car, there is no dust anywhere. The concourse judges have white gloves on, white cloth gloves, and they just rub their hands over every part of the car, and if that glove comes back dirty at all, you're knocked down on points rapidly. So every single part of the car has to be spotless, which takes days and days and days to do. Day of the event, up at 6 o'clock, setting up teams events with another 356, another club member. And there was another 6 teams in the teams events, and you know, they had us up on the stage, and you start with 3rd place and work your way through, you know, and they called out 3rd place and it wasn't us, so I thought, oh okay. The Mustang Club, they got 2nd, and we looked at each other and, well, it's either us or we're way back down the grid somewhere. So when they called us up for 1st place, it was more shock horror than anything. The relief after that moment was immense, you know. I could drive the car home then, I could drive it for once. It felt good to you know, represent the club, and the rest of the club were there watching, and for them to be so stoked for us was a really good feeling. And yeah, good moment, savoured it. It got top points, 20 out of 20 for paint and panel, and that's a record for any of our cars. So yeah, it was really stoked to be able to ring Paul up on that day and say, hey guys, this is how you're rated. No other car in the concourse this year rated as high in panel and paint. And yeah, the news, it was fantastic. It's good for Dean, good for Precision Autowerk. It kind of shows that you know, we've got the skill to produce, you know, a standard that high, and to take out Concours for 2016, fantastic. I don't know why we get into this sort of stuff, it's quite crazy really, but I know it's that, you know, you just want to try and make it the best you can, and I think having the car at that standard at least once in its life is quite an achievement. So at the time I was getting quite despondent with it all, but after the fact I'm so glad I did it. It was a brilliant event to be involved in.